Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I'm Brittany, the TA Operations Coordinator, and I'll be hosting this event. Before we begin, for those who may not know, Redwind is a nonprofit organization that provides tribal technical assistance on a variety of programs, including but not limited to tribal comprehensive, responding to urban natives, and elder abuse. This ranges from policy review by email to site visits in person. If you're interested, you can contact me at info@red-wind.net. You can also visit our website at red-wind.net for additional information on services we provide, upcoming events, and resources such as handouts and guidebooks that you can download. This webinar is a part of our Tribal College Campus TA project. This event has captioning, which you'll need to manually turn on from the menu. If you have any questions or comments, you can put them in the chat box or the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. If there are any tech issues, you can private message me and we'll try to get it resolved. I'll now turn the webinar over to our presenters.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? I think you probably can. I'm Erin Messmer. I am calling in or dialing in from Denina Land here in Anchorage, Alaska. And I will be your main presenter here for our webinar today. And we're talking all about building awareness. So Communications Campaign Planning 101. This is basically what Brittany just said, who the webinar is provided by. And we've got a little teaser video. I hope it comes through. If it doesn't, please let me know and I can always share the link. This just gives you a little bit of a taste of what we do. So I am presenting on behalf of Northwest Strategies, an Alaska Native woman-owned and led full-service brand marketing agency. And we, as I mentioned, we are here in Anchorage, Alaska, but we work with clients locally here in the state and then nationally as well.
Erin, if there's supposed to be sound, there isn't any.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
There is no sound happening.
Oh, no sound. Okay. Do this.
In the screen share options, there should be a box you can click that says share computer sound, and that will enable it. So you should go to more on the far right of the bar and then click.
There it is.
Yay.
I'll try the high fidelity. Let's try this again. Here.
Yep, we can hear it.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me. It's super special to us because what you just saw is a beautiful collection of all of the projects that we've been able to work on. And as an Alaska Native woman-owned and operated communications firm, we have a team of 23 professionals and a dedicated Indigenous team that we partner with extraordinary brands to achieve success. Really where we operate from is a space of focusing on people and culture, and influencing healthy behaviors, improving equity, and then enhancing quality of life. And it's all about some is focused on sales, but really about behavior change and influencing behavior, belief, knowledge, and attitude change through strategic messaging and communications planning. No matter the goal, people are at the heart of what we do, and we've worked for and with a variety of partners. So everyone from the state of Alaska, the Centers for Disease Control, Disney and Freeform, the Department of Justice, and the Office on Violence Against Women, Seattle Indian Health Board, Urban Indian Health Institute, the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition, Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, and numerous other partners across industries and across geographic locations. So we focus on branding, behavior change marketing, cultural comms, tribal affairs, media, social, creative, content, graphics, web, video, radio, animation, research and evaluation, event management, and training and technical assistance. So a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I am the Director of Client Services. I'm Unangak, and my family is from the Aleutian chain. So that's that set of islands in Alaska. My great-great-grandmother is from Resovia Bay on Unimak Island. And I was born and raised in Alaska. And I've been working in this field in marketing specifically for about 12 years. And the last 4 with Northwest Strategies. I have a bachelor's in strategic and corporate communication. You get to see a little bit about that in my presentation. And I am a part of the Indigenous team. So I get to work heavily hand in hand with our Indigenous clients and Alaska Native organizations. So I'm really grateful to be here presenting to you all today. So for this session, we're going to explore the basic components of communications campaigns. One of our focuses is going to be how do we raise awareness that's centered around a key theme to encourage and promote behavior, belief, and knowledge change among your target audiences. So these strategies and approaches will be useful among tribal colleges and universities, and we'll learn a little bit more about campaign goals and objectives, how to measure success, how to identify key audiences, craft your core messages based on your overall campaign goals, and then decide where those messages are going to live and ideally reach your intended target audience. So today we'll cover foundational knowledge about communications campaigns, specifically how to deliver impactful messaging regarding domestic violence and sexual assault prevention, education, and awareness. And then for today's presentation, when we talk about DVSA, it is encompassing domestic violence and sexual assault that can be physical, sexual, emotional, and economic abuse, threats and isolation and sex trafficking, coercion that is sexual or reproductive in nature, technological or digital abuse, intimate partner violence or dating violence, such as sexual or physical violence, psychological aggression, and stalking. So when we say DVSA, it's all of these things for today's presentation purpose combined into one. We'll also learn how to strategize and plan for a communications campaign, create content that aligns with your campaign goals, and successfully launch a communications campaign. And all of these strategies can be adapted for you all to create your own communications campaign, work with strategic partners inside of your organizations and your communities and possibly outside your organizations to really affect change in your community. So we're going to talk about why a campaign is important. And a campaign really is a concentrated strategic effort over a period of time. It's planning. This plan will include your goals, objectives, and specific approaches to how you're going to achieve these specific goals and objectives. Your campaign provides context for future efforts based on outcomes. So it's going to inform, what worked well, what maybe didn't, and we can course correct moving forward, and really move in a direction that is positive and informed by previous efforts. So it can help increase understanding and awareness of a specific topic. And this can be achieved through repeated receipt of messaging by audiences, through multiple communication mediums or channels, for example, social media, email marketing, traditional marketing, so TV, video, streaming channels. And it also helps to focus on a core or key message to reinforce campaign outcomes. So whether that's increasing knowledge, changing attitudes, say acceptability of a specific behavior, or thoughts or education around a specific topic, these specific core messages can really impact and move the needle within those areas of knowledge, attitude, and behaviors. So an intentional communications campaign can help achieve your goals by increasing awareness, calling attention to an important issue. Maybe that's something you're experiencing on campus that your students have brought to the attention of you or the organization and institution. It can be increasing knowledge, so educating about a specific topic, maybe the prevalence of something that happens on campus or how it affects the survivors of DVSA. So teaching through delivering specific information, and also combating any myths or previously held beliefs that might not be true. So shifting beliefs, using persuasive messaging to change minds, and then influencing policy. This can also help influence policy at a variety of levels. So we're talking about support, advocacy, and even reducing opposition that can work toward changing standards, rules, policies, practices, and protocols on campus or within your organization or institution. So how does this apply to a real world situation? Well, I'm going to use my my own experience at my last university as an example. So when I went into my last area of study, there was an on-campus public health campaign. It was called Rethink, and it was about the dangers of using prescription stimulants for off-label and non-medical purposes, because students were using these types of prescription drugs for uses that were not what they were initially prescribed for. So the approach to these messages, they were customized for the target audience, so age and location being university students on campus, and then on specific messaging channels, so social, Instagram, email marketing, as well as Facebook. And then the messages and the way the information was delivered, it was really crafted to be relevant to the specific audience. So it covered negative impacts on studying, school performance, and then physical side effects that wouldn't be ideal for students who are using or who may be thinking about using prescription stimulants for an off-label or non-medical purpose. The messages of this campaign gave the audience resources and a target action. So it's really great if you can change our beliefs about something, but giving your audience a place to go, something to do, or a spot to learn more is super important. So talking to a counselor or advisor, thinking about stopping the specific use altogether, and not only campaigns, but as well as other specific supporting strategies. So this included tabling, printed media, social signing pledges. There were students who you could go to a table on campus and sign a pledge to not use during midterms and finals. So it was also time sensitive and relevant to the students. So this is an example of a poster, and the outcomes of this campaign were really positive. So The outcomes were that students' attitudes changed toward using prescription stimulants to concentrate while studying, and they were significantly more negative, so opinions were affected after the campaign. And then students at Chapman, so this is the university, also felt that the misuse of prescription drugs was significantly less accepted or okay. So this is talking about social norms, how accepted, how like normal or okay it is. So this was a huge win for the campaign, as it's one of the most challenging aspects of this specific phenomenon, that college students assume other students are not only engaging in this behavior, but are also approving of it. So this is something that you can look forward to, hopefully, impacting your students and faculty and other organizations and individuals within the community with a concentrated campaign. So how can you do it? That's what we're going to talk about today. And our focus is really on campaigns that can positively impact DVSA education, prevention, and also intervention. And you don't need to have a big budget to put together a campaign. You just need a plan and a couple small steps to execute the plan. It does not have to be perfect. Ideally, your campaign would engage multiple stakeholders. So this can be administration and healthcare staff to campus clubs, classes, advocates, organizers, and other partner organizations or groups in the community. So your campaign strategy and approach is super important. This is like the foundation of the house from which we build. And your approach can be informed by a number of variables, such as, challenges. What are you facing on campus? What's the feedback that your students or faculty are giving you? What are you seeing? Is there something you're wanting to change? Whether that's, behaviors or knowledge-specific actions. And is this action something you need to communicate to a specific portion of students or individuals? Does it apply to everyone, or is there a key audience that you can focus in on? What are your core messages that rise to the top that are going to address the challenges and support your objectives and that change that you want to see? Also, what's your timeline? It's great to have a beginning, a middle, and an end of a campaign to really decide what the journey of that campaign looks like. Also, organizational capacity, who's going to do it? Who has the responsibility? And then do you need funding? Whether that is for printing flyers or paying for specific placements in a newspaper or an online publication, is there money that needs to be raised or requested? So your communications campaign can have a number of parts and pieces or components. It really helps to create a bit of context by writing background and purpose statements. What's the background on the topic or subject, and why it's important, why the following plan and goals and objectives are going to be beneficial and address your current challenges. Defining your goals and objectives. What do we want to see at the end? What are we trying to do? And how are we trying to do that? Goals and objectives are related to one another. So your overarching goal, and then your objectives are the actual actions that support that goal. Defining who, we kind of covered, who needs to hear the message. Is it your population at large? Is it a specific segment of your audience? Is it just students? Do you have a primary and a secondary audience? And there can also be some overlap in your audiences. Your key or core messages and what you want people to do. What are the most important things that you want your audiences or people to take away from your campaign? That can be anything from just increasing education to actually reducing a specific behavior, such as consumption of prescription stimulants on campus. Your content approach, if you have specific content, how are you going to make it? What types of content are you going to create based on those messages? What channels are you going to use? Is it social? Is it print or hard copy, brochures, flyers, mailers? And what's going to reach your target audience the best? chances are, if you're trying to reach a young audience, it's probably not the best approach to spend a lot of money to place in a print newspaper. You want to be on social, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Snapchat, where your audience is hanging out. Deciding what the timeline is, so ideally how long, and then how you're measuring success. So your key performance indicators, and then your evaluation metrics. That's just a fancy way of saying, what did we achieve? What do the numbers tell us? And how do we decide if it was a success or if we need to change our approach? Budget, if you have that available to you or if you may need it. And just a slight note, not all of the pieces that are listed here needs to be included. Most important are starred, and there are also other pieces of your campaign that you could include, such as, working with local influencers to support and deliver your messages. So we're going to cover challenges and the link to background, purpose, and objectives. So when approaching planning for a campaign, identifying any challenges and what you want to change is a first step to creating a campaign. In my experience, we have individuals and organizations who come to us and say, we want to recruit for a village public safety officer program so our rural villages and communities can feel supported and have resources for fire suppression, search and rescue, community support, and policing within those specific communities. So how do we work with you to increase our recruitment and retention of specific officers? So we're talking about a challenge, a goal, increasing recruitment and retention. And then our job is really to be creative and find ways and approaches to achieve those goals. So for example, if you have a challenge, men in our community think or feel that DVSA is a women's issue. A corresponding objective might be of your campaign that you want to focus on communicating men's roles and disrupting the cycle of violence and inspire men to be allies and help men to support other men in respecting women. So you can see how the challenge and the objective really go hand in hand. And by noting your challenge, you can think of objectives that you want to achieve through your campaign. For another example, people in the community see violence or know someone who is exposed to a violent situation, but they aren't doing anything for help. Maybe they think it's none of their business. A corresponding objective would, how are we going to message to increase bystander intervention? Last example of a challenge is our youth don't understand what healthy relationships are, and maybe we don't have many positive role models present. So the objective of your campaign could be to educate youth about healthy relationships and really try to inspire and motivate them to create healthier relationships and make them cool. And we're going back to talking about social norms, normative behaviors, and what people deem as acceptable and that they think other people are doing. So when approaching your campaign plan, you can base and write your background, purpose, goals, and objectives on your assessment of your specific and current challenges. So if we're talking about a campus challenge, your background could be on our campus, 35% of students say they know or have witnessed someone experience sexual misconduct but have not reported it. So the purpose of your campaign is to raise awareness of the issue through communications and student engagement. The goal is to increase bystander intervention across the student population by 5% over a year. I'll mention this a little bit later, but when setting your goals, having them be SMART, which is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound or time-sensitive. It's great to have a lofty goal, but realistic and relevant is also something that we need to consider when determining goals of the campaign. As mentioned before, the corresponding objectives are to hold one prevention-focused tabling event. So that is an achievable objective. in a high traffic area, develop 2 informational posters to place on campus, and create 1 radio ad to be played on the student-run radio station. So this is for an example campaign, how you could craft and apply these ideas, background, purpose, goals, and objectives to begin to create a campaign of action. So circling back to the objectives and then tying in our audience and messages. Being smart about your goals and objectives, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, or relevant, and time-bound or time-specific. So specific, identifying your target audience segments and activities. Measurable, how are you going to measure the success? Maybe that's increases hits to a website, having more signatures of see something, say something for students. Oh. And if the campaign is focused on raising awareness, indicate how will it be measured. So is that through a post-campaign survey or other mode of communicating with your target audience? So achievable, what available resources and constraints are you working within? And then suggest strategies to minimize negative impact to goals. Being realistic, so addressing the scope of work and what type of steps are needed to accomplish the goal, and then a timeline indicating when these benchmarks or specific objectives will need to be met. So moving on to an audience, this is super important because we can tailor our messages and make sure that we're putting them places where our audience is hanging out to increase the chance that we will impact that audience in the way that we want to and the way that we intend to. So who are you trying to impact? As I mentioned before, maybe it's students, maybe it's faculty, maybe it's community members or cross-section. Who are you talking to? Who are your messages going to be made and crafted and delivered to? This is your target audience. You can have more than one target audience. You can have a primary, a secondary. You can have different audience segments that maybe you tailor your messages to reach them based on an age range, based on some piece of demographic or background information. And then also update and tailor your voice tone, what language you're using. So how are you speaking to them and what that consistency looks like. And then where messages are going. We talked about that. Where are they going to live? Where are they most likely to reach the individuals that they want to reach? And then deciding what our key messages are, depending upon your overall goals and objectives and your background and purpose of your campaign. What are the main things that you want your audience to know? What might you want them to change? And what information is relevant and meaningful for them to know about the issue? If they learned or heard one thing from your campaign, what would it be? This is your core, your key message of your campaign. And these messages should be adapted and create the bulk of your campaign content. They should be super straightforward and clear. And if you can, message test. Ask a friend, get a focus group of students together who belong to your target audience and say, does this message resonate to you? Is it relevant? Can you see yourself changing this? What's working for you? What's not? Are the visuals aligned with something you'd be interested in? There's a great opportunity to engage with your target audience through focus groups or talking circles to see how your message and other creative materials are performing and if they're having the effect that you desire and think they may have. So how to reach whom with what? So we covered really quickly our foundational components of the campaign. Now, where are they going to go? Revisiting your goals and objectives and your audience. So think about your messaging and how they will reach your audience. Where is most appropriate, cost-effective, and suited for your message? Is it a printed flyer? Is it a one-page leave behind or a brochure? Is your message going to live online in a boosted social post? Is it a radio ad on your station, or is it a more like traditional part of media in a TV or broadcast spot? What about streaming platforms? So whether that's video, whether that's audio, there is a plethora of media channels out there to reach your ideal audience. And most of the time, there are tactics that you can employ through digital marketing or working with the organization that owns that channel to reach who you want to reach. And then are some messages better used on social than radio or another medium? Not every message is going to translate or apply where they're put. So thinking about that as well. So for what we talked about previously, trying to impact bystander intervention on campus. So our audience, hypothetically, it would be TCU students ages 18 to 25. Our messages, we can work together to make our campuses safer. So these are the things that we want people to take away. If you see something, say something. That is a direct call to action. And someone can envision themselves seeing something and then taking that intended action. When you report a sexual assault, you are protecting your relatives. So making it about a community-centered and a collectivistic act rather than individualistic. And then raising awareness. There's a 24/7 campus hotline to report sexual assault. So a resource, as we mentioned previously. So if we're trying to reach students 18 to 25, printed posters with messaging posted on campus in high traffic areas. Maybe that's in the library or a restroom. Perhaps it's in the gym or other gathering place. Social media. Social media is a really low cost, low barrier to entry way of getting your message to your ideal target audience. And as our example campaign used an in-person tabling at event at a central campus location or focused at a specific time. Maybe students are going home for, spring break, or, there's going to be a lot of like parties and drinking going on and celebrating on campus because it's homecoming or something. Making those decisions based on your environment can be really helpful. And then student-run radio for a public service announcement to be read during high-volume listener shows. Just a tip, so materials such as posters can be shortened and repurposed to create social media posts and one sheets to be handed out at tabling events. The more that we can leverage messages and create less work for our teams to put these messages out, the better. So knowing that any material that you put together can be easily adapted for other pieces of material that fit really well within your campaign. Some of the other variables we talked about are your timeline. So how long? When is it starting? When are we checking in with the performance of our campaign? What are we measuring? And then if there's budget needed for, printing, ad placements, maybe you want to have some swag made, like a button or something of that sort, notebooks, pens, things like that. So your timeline, it always needs to have a time frame, a launch and an end date. It can also help keep you organized and may coincide with an awareness day or month. So Domestic Violence Awareness Month or a special event on campus. This could be the beginning of the school year. Maybe we're talking to incoming freshmen and just raising awareness about how and when they might experience an increased risk or how to not go anywhere alone. What that means for them, midterms or a sports season, finals, graduation, school breaks. And then our performance metrics, this is the ruler against how we will measure success. It doesn't always have to be a number. We can also measure success as maybe our main metric is we just want to plan and execute our first campaign ever on campus. That is a huge accomplishment. So you determine what metrics are significant. Is it signups? Is it calls to a reporting hotline? Maybe you're able to manage or see those metrics and see that increase in calls to a reporting hotline. You can correlate your efforts with that increased call volume, possibly to your campaign. Do you want to hand out 500 flyers, or do you want to reach a specific number of listeners during radio airplay? These are all things that you can define and determine to tell you if your campaign is successful. You can set qualitative goals, and sometimes a mixture is best. So, reaching a specific listenership, and then, also designing a flyer with your local art club. Those are a qualitative and a quantitative goal. And then how will you assess? Surveys, and then who's going to manage it? Last but not least, our budget. What kind of funding, if any, will you need for your campaign? Who's going to pay for some of these things? And if you know that you need to raise money, planning to do that. All right, so we're going to talk about putting it all together. So this is the really quick culmination of all of these pieces that we covered, and how they all work together to create a campaign that can be really successful. So we've talked about this foundation, background, purpose, our goals and objectives, and the specific components. We talked about a varied approach and factors that might go into starting your campaign, or even beginning to think about it. If you've never done something like this on campus before, maybe you need administration buy-in. How do you do that? Maybe you're a specific student-led organization on campus, and you don't have any access to graphic designers. What or who can you identify as strategic partners? So an art club, a graphic design class on campus, to create these materials to help and support your campaign. This is also being really smart about how to be cost effective and how to use and creatively use resources that are available to you. A couple tips for planning your campaign: write it down. Work to create a narrative-based communications campaign that addresses each variable and answers these specific questions. When I or my team are writing communications campaigns or brainstorming, maybe we're creating a work plan that's outlining how are we going to achieve these specific goals. We author this plan in a way that anybody can pick it up and know what's going on, when, why, how long, how much, and write it as if we know nothing about the specific communications campaign. This helps us not leave out any specific detail, because when you get really good at this and when you do it over and over and over again, there creates more opportunity to have some spots that you may miss. Also, if you have a team that you're able to work with, or someone who has done a communications campaign, a behavior change, social marketing campaign before, ask them to review it. Maybe you have a professor who you have access to on campus, or maybe there's a class that can review and give you feedback on what your campaign is looking like, or even provide help with specific areas, arms, or portions of that campaign. So reaching across your departments for support. Also engaging stakeholders to support your effort. Maybe that looks like a letter to, to the college president, or a board. There are opportunities to align strategically with other individuals and organizations and groups to not only support your effort, but also to raise awareness. You don't have to solely rely on your flyers or your radio ads. Word of mouth. Hey, did you hear about this? Or, a letter from the president that's delivered to all students' emails declaring a specific day, or maybe no one marks Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And this becomes, with your effort, with your campaign, the opportunity to declare that this is a month that's observed on campus. That's huge. You can also recruit volunteers, students, faculty, and other aligned groups to share your message, staff your table, and become a messaging channel in and of themselves. As we sort of hit on before, this can be an example of social proof or normative behavior, which shifts social norms and can impact knowledge, attitudes, and beliefs. I know that was a lot of information to take in and digest. What I've done also is I put together just a little brief one sheet as a resource that you all can fill out if you're interested in dipping your toe in the campaign planning pool, and hopefully that may be available. But if not, there's a variety of resources that are available out there that talk specifically about these topics and achieving these specific goals. So Quiana, thank you so much for your attention today and allowing me to show up in this space and share what I love to share. I've been doing this work and specifically in the social marketing space to have positive impacts on public health and Indigenous and Alaska Native organizations and tribal organizations for the past 4 years. And that is specifically why I work at Northwest Strategies, because I get to do that every single day. So if you have any questions, I'm sure you can always reach out to me. You can reach out to the staff at Redwind, and it's really been my pleasure to share with you today and hold space for this information. And I really hope it's valuable and can impact change, large or small, wherever you are from. So Quiana, thank you.
Thank you, Erin. I just wanted to kind of think about, so let's say TCUs want to reach out to you, maybe they if you offer any assistance or just thinking about, as they start thinking about their campaign, is there the ability to reach out to you and ask these questions and, get some just consulting. I think just listening to your presentation, it's just, when we talk about campaigns, it's, we have these ideas, but I think you really cohesively put in, the intentionality that we want, to have when we're doing our campaigns. And so I would love, if TCUs had the ability to reach out to you and Northwest Strategies, just to think about and brainstorm some ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. We love working with organizations large and small. We love the type of work that we get to do, especially in this social marketing space that, we're not necessarily trying to sell a product, but really an idea, a concept, a behavior change to shift the needle in health and wellness among populations. So you can always reach out to us. There's definitely opportunity to collaborate, even to ask some specific questions. We do work with educational institutions as well, and have done work in collaboration and on behalf of organizations. So my inbox is always open and we welcome the opportunity to connect with anybody.
Great. Thank you so much. And I see you put your email in the chat. And also anyone who's joining this webinar, it will be recorded. So if you're watching this and you weren't able to join when the presentation was happening, you can reach out to me as well, and I can get you in contact with Erin. With our project, our tribal college campus project through the Office of Violence Against Women, if it's like, we're really interested in this, we just don't know if we have the resources available. I'm here to kind of help navigate through that and say, like, how can we do this? How can we make it work for you? And so it's such a valuable tool, our campaign efforts and really changing culture on our campus. And so this is such meaningful work, and we are here to kind of link and put pieces together to make sure you're able to do this work on your campus. And I see they put my email on there. We also have a website, tribal college or tribalcampus.org, I believe. You can get our information there. And yeah, I just want to thank you so much, Erin, for doing this and sharing your knowledge and your expertise. Um, one thing that I think about with our TCUs and just resources that we have when it comes to, doing campaigns on campus, a lot of it, is not Native specific. And so that's what really, I appreciate you and what you all do, because it isn't, Native specific, Indigenous specific. So it meets the audience, it meets, and so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. And I know I briefly covered it in the presentation, but just to highlight again and re-emphasize, especially when communicating with Alaska Native populations or Indigenous American Indian, Native American populations, making sure that all of our content, even everything from printed material to graphic design to is this going to be needed to be translated into an Indigenous language? We always consider things like that. Are we using Indigenous minds to craft messages, to do the graphic design, to conduct talking circles, to do research, and what level of Indigenous knowledge and culture and being culturally informed can we bring to these specific projects. One of the things that we were able to work on is a RX awareness campaign with the CDC that was specifically featured Alaska Native folks in recovery, and that was tailored and designed by us for us. And one of our guiding principles at Northwest Strategies is nothing about us without us. And that's really something we always try to carry into everything. So I always like to share that little nugget because it's near and dear to my heart and helps me when I'm working on projects like this. So.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Erin. And I don't see any other questions, but I am, if I receive any questions, I will reach out to you, Erin. And I look forward just to seeing the work that can be done. And just really thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you for the invitation. It's been my pleasure, and thank you to the attendees. You can reach me at erin@nwstrat.com. That is my email. Please reach out, and we would love the opportunity to connect with you and see if there's opportunity to work together and collaborate. So thank you so much.
Great. Well, thank you. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. And yeah, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.